Hello there, and welcome to 10 tips and tricks for a good start in Rogue GENESIA. In this video, I have a couple of things that I hope will be helpful for you in completing the game, getting your sick builds together, and progressing through this wonderful bullet hell survivors like. So, the number one thing that I want to talk about is priorities for a good build. So, how do you get successful from the beginning? So, I personally think the first thing that you should always try to optimize and get yourself together is your damage. The stuff you pick up in the first level up should always be about getting your damage up. Once you have a feeling that you're somewhat able to kill stuff, the utility and mobility things are next up. I personally value being fast and being able to dash around a lot, because at the end of the day, being not even hit by the enemy because you're too fast at kiting is one of the best ways to stay alive. And once you have that settled down, we're getting down to the actual defenses. This stuff comes last. After we are able to kill stuff, after we are able to evade stuff, we are settling down with the fact that sometimes stuff just hits us, and after that, HP regeneration. Well, HP regeneration and defense stats go hand in hand together, but you get the idea. So, number two I want to talk about is, as soon as you see one of these upgrades that you want to keep, go for it. The thing is, once you have the level 1 of these upgrades, it'll show up in your drop pool repeatedly. And if you don't have the level 1 of it, and it is a higher rarity thing, it might happen or not that you are not going to see it anytime too soon. But if you already have level 1 of a soul card, it's pretty high likely, there's a higher likelihood that'll show up on your level ups, and especially with things which are highly synergistic with your current weapons, your current build, your current idea. That's very good to pick. Number 3, the regionals. So every region has regional items. So here we have the bright crystal and such. I highly recommend, if they are something interesting for your build, pick them up as soon as you can. The thing is, they're gone after you're done with the region. As far as I've seen things, you're not even able to level them up after you are done with the region. I have tested it with one of the sand region items, and I haven't seen it ever since. Maybe I was just unlucky, correct me if I'm wrong here, but my point stands still. You want to pick these up as quick as possible before they go away, because some of these are really good. On the other hand, if you don't want them, you can safely skip them at this point, obviously. Number 4, banishing and rerolling of items. So these are two very powerful mechanics, and I want to go really quickly over it, why they are so good. Banishing things, if they are antagonistic and bad for your build, for example here quick is something that I don't want to have because I don't want smaller size projectiles. It's a no-no for my build. The thing is, banishing something gives you the ability to narrow down what stuff will drop for you, and that is a very good thing. On the other hand, rerolling gives you another chance to draw something new, comes in very obviously as something handy, but the point that I want to get towards to here is don't shy away from doing it whenever you feel like there's nothing in the selection that pleases you, because those rerolls, they're coming back. You can loot them. So they are not something like a finite resource. Picking up something which you feel like is not worth your time, picking up something common if it is not really revolving well into your build, these are good reasons for a reroll. And banishing things that are bad for your build, so for example average here, because I'm doing a crit build, it makes you a lot more likely to find the stuff that you want. With a game that has so many different skills, the banishing and the rerolling is, in my humble opinion, very important here. Now, number 5, your enemies, they use armor too. Not only you can get stupidly invulnerable with using enough armor. I mean, look at me. I'm basically crowd surfing here, and my HP bot meter doesn't even flinch. The enemy does that trick too. So what you gotta do for that is get yourself some defense, some armor penetration skills. Don't sleep on them. They're highly necessary. If you don't pick them up, you're eventually going to face enemies that just won't go down anymore because, yeah, armor. There's also weapons that ignore armor. There's specific stats that shave down armor from the enemy. So if you have a high DPS or a build that utilizes a lot of hits per second. That's good stuff. Either way, it's not really hard to counter the enemy's armor, but if you are not aware of it, you might be looking at the enemy and wondering why the heck are you not getting them down anymore. Number 6, take the high rolls and the risk if you are able to. So there's always elite fights, especially hard fights, and my recommendation is take them. Take them if you can. If you are really sure to lose, that's the only reason not to take them. The thing here is this game is balanced in a way that if you are successful on the difficult battles from the get-go, there's a higher likelihood that you will will be successful on the next one of these and the next one and the next one, because you get higher rewards, you get stronger more quickly, and that snowballs out of control quite quickly. I mean, there's nothing gained if you are going to be surely losing out of that, so the rule of thumb is quite easy. At the beginning of the game, just take those risks and try to get through it, because in the first 50% of the game you won't be losing much if you are going to die out of that. But if you feel like you have something to lose, if you feel like you're going to be not able to shave down the elite enemies quick enough or something like that, then trust your gut feeling. But I can only recommend to take risks, because risks make you stronger, and yeah, that's that. Number 7, stuff with pros and cons. So in this game, there's items that have very, very clear pros and cons. My personal way of dealing with these is quite simple. If it is a pro that I really want to have, I'm going to ask myself, is the con something that my build can digest? If yes, take it. Because in this game, the items are heavily weighted towards being more useful than not useful. So the downsides are rarely heavier than the upsides. But there's a big thing in between. Pay close attention to the downsides. Some of the downsides are even percentual. So if you are relying on, I don't know, large skills and something reduces only numerical your size of the skills, it's not much of a big deal. But if it would reduce your skills by a percentile amount, that might be countering your entire build. Whatever you do, just take a good measure if the stuff you lose is going to cripple you or not, and how much you do lose. That's the other day. Now, number 8, skill evolutions. So your soul cards have sometimes things that are linked to them. So the heavy pickaxes you see here is a singular item, but let's see. Good example here is the spiked shield. As you see there, once you have this fully leveled out, a lot of other skills open up. You can always check this out by hovering the skill and pressing I while you are selecting them, or you just look them up here. The point here is quite simple. More often than not, you get yourself something very interesting unlocked behind that initial skill. So when you are looking at the skills during your selection phase and you are not quite sure what you take, if you want to take it or not, you can check on out if there's something hidden behind there. There's often even a hint what you need to unlock or what you need to do to unlock the items that are behind it if you don't have them. So it's really worth checking out, especially if you wonder whether or not this is getting you somewhere or not. So number 9, a couple of tips for the DPS optimization. So your DPS is easily set up between how hard your stuff hits, that's the base power. Then you can increase the base power with percentile values. That's very powerful, and I highly recommend to rely on that as your sort of your baseline increaser. Then the attack speed comes on in, that's how often you hit. And then the critical hit chance comes on in. That's very synergistic with quick hitting stuff. And then the critical damage comes on in, and then the defense penetration comes on in. That's basically also in that order my personal hierarchy of things, how I value them. First the DPS, the raw DPS, so to speak, without any chances. Then the chance-based damage increases via critical hits and such. and then the meta stats like defense shaving and such. Yeah, works out pretty nicely. Then we got as a last thing number 10, survivability optimizations, and I just picked a wrong upgrade while talking. Well, not that bad. Survivability optimizations is also very, very simple. First up, like I said, make sure that you are able to move between the enemy. The amount of move speed that you want to hit, that's a very, very personality-based thing. Some of us love to wheeze around at light speed. Some of us prefer a intermediate speed and a lot of dashes. I can't decide that for you, but what I gotta say is this is for me always the first rung of the ladder in survivability. Then I check out that I regenerate my HP as quick as possible. Stuff like these here are super handy in that regard, because it's much easier to maintain a level of mobility where you just get hit sometimes before you, and then at some point you can maintain a level of tankiness where, yeah, if you have enough damage mitigation, you'll be getting there. About damage mitigation, this comes in two flavors. We have first up a defense value, which just takes down a numerical value of the damage that we get, but there's also a percentile damage mitigation value, which takes down the damage before the numerical reduction applies. So that means these two together, they are a miracle team in taking down the damage off of you. I mean, you see it there. I'm just legit wheezing through these without being hurt, because I just focused into less movement speed and more defenses. I'll leave it up to you. There's plenty of builds that you can experiment around with. There's even builds that just don't rely on armor at all, and they work. Well, world is your oyster. I hope that these 10 things that I mentioned in this video were helpful for you. There's a lot more to say, and I hope that you can tell me in the comment section what you want to hear more about, or maybe you have something to share as well. Let me know what you think. And last but not least, leave a like, leave a subscribe, check out the description box down below. Feel free to support Icon Gaming. If you feel like my work is worth a dime to you, it would really, really mean a lot to me. There's the YouTube channel membership thing for supports and other links downstairs. So many thanks to all of you who do support, and a lot of thanks if you're still hanging out here watching the video up to the very end. Deeply appreciate the time that you take, and hope you had a good time, and see you all on the next one. Bye bye.